Welcome to Pasifika Woman of Influence. My name is Victoria, your host, and I've got the amazing, talented, hilarious, super woman power Eteroa Lafaele on here as one of my first guests on Pasifika Woman of Influence. This platform is about our interviewee, so I'm going to hand it right over to Eteroa to introduce herself to us today.
Oh, bless. My loli soifua mau malangi mama. My name is Eteroa Tusipepa Umanga Lafaele Ngamala Ulu. My father is from Whongapoa in Whaasireleanga in Savai. My mother is from Lumuenga in Lefanga in Upolu. But even though I hail from the beautiful islands of Savai, I'm born and bred in a place of champions, Cannons Creek, Puriroa. 5024 all day, every day, yes. I spent 18 years of my amazing life here in Cannons Creek until I made the big move when I was 18 in 2014 to move to Auckland to study computer science. So after my time in AUT, I graduated with a computer science degree. And from there, I'm currently a software engineer and a community manager for an open source place called Voluntarily. So that's me, and I'm really grateful and thankful for the opportunity to speak here. And I'm really excited for today. Oh, bless. So my degree is about computer science. So for those that don't understand, so computer science is kind of the study and the knowledge of understanding algorithms and also how computers work. So if we really condense it down, it's all about the study of understanding computers. So a software developer is actually a person that can either speak or understand computer language. So a software developer is kind of like actually is a programmer. So if you watch movies like Matrix or other high classified government movies where they try to save the world, I don't want to be a deal breaker. It doesn't look like that, but it's like that inside the system.
Yeah.
But so it's pretty much my job really, and pretty much all the other software developers around the world, we practically just talk to the computer because if we have to be quite honest, computers actually can't do anything without the main brain, which is people. Right. So we technically control everything that happens in a computer, but the computer just processes it for us. So I got into the passion in this field when I was year 12, which was 2012. I got a scholarship to work at Massey University for the McDermott Institute. So the McDermott Institute is an institute that covers nanotechnology and kind of biomedical studies and stuff. So in year 12 I got sent to Massey to do lab work. So I was working in chemistry labs, physics labs and biology labs. So I did a lot of work in MIR scans and also plant work, like we looked in pollen tubes. So that was pretty much the scholarship. Now what happened in that scholarship was that we were meant to follow our lecturer to one of the labs, but I actually stumbled in one of the computer science labs. So I came in and there was this whole room that just kind of covered all computer science grades. So it had like old school World War I tools and equipments that were used, like Morse code, how they used that to communicate to other military camps and stuff. So it was just pretty much the evolution of technology. And then there was this massive plaque that was like under a massive spotlight that just had all these computer science grades. And I was kind of like disappointed because all of them were like, James Smith, Kenneth Johnson, like names that I would not relate to, but I knew that there was already a bit of a divide. So one, there wasn't much women, but also there was also not many of our Māori Pasifika on those plaques. So I made an oath to myself somehow in year 12 and that I would be at least, even if I don't try to, even if I can't, like, even if I won't be a computer science great, at least try and influence. We need to try come in the field so that we can, so with that caused my passion, because my original passion was chemistry, so I'm really into chemistry. I was so close to studying chemistry in uni, but then I made the change after year 12 because I knew that, like, it was something new, but I knew that it was something that I kind of felt more pulled to not only be good at, but also to create change. So originally my parents were, it's a no. I'm the only girl in my family, and it's not something that can be, I think it's just because in our community, girls are always seen as the ones that stay behind, look after their families, and also just, if you're going to go to university, then you're going to go to the one next door, like in the region and stuff. So, and also to keep in mind, I was year 12, so I think I was like 16, 17 at the time. So I managed to make kind of a deal with my parents. So in my 2 weeks there, my dad drove me up every weekend and stayed with me at a camper van for me to just make sure that I studied so that I did the actual scholarship. But it was pretty cool because I got to show my dad the labs, and he was just mind blown. But I think it was just that dedication that my dad was willing to drop his like hours in the taxi so that I could come and do some lab work at Palmerston North.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a lot of negotiating, but also educating, because it's quite foreign for our communities, or especially our parents in these fields. So it's one, trust, but two, to educate, and also to say that, because I think overall, if my parents wanted me to either be a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant, and I totally miss all three. So I chose a different route, which was very foreign. So it did take time. It did take a few head scratches, but I personally think that it was totally worth it at the end. I walked in my first programming class, and it's so different. Just because it's a science doesn't mean it has to be the same, and that's what I felt when it was my 2014 when I walked up for my first programming class. I wish I could go back, but so in that class, so programming 1 is a core paper for everyone in computer science to take. So my first year was 200. There were 20 of us. 5 of us were molding Pasifika. Second year, it dropped like flies to 20. 5 of us were molding Pasifika, and then in my last year, it went to 10. 2 were girls, and I was actually the only Pasifika or Māori person inside that place. And it is kind of discouraging because you don't find, or you don't see yourself connect to people that you'd think straight away. But I think my big motivator to stay was because of that number, but also I actually got to understand these different people very, like, it was because I've been with them for so long, I understood how they kind of behaved, and it's very different from our own people, but it kind of exposed me to different people's behaviors. So I got to know them, but then I also learned another skill at the same time, which was to kind of have like that people development kind of skill to understand how people roll, because a lot of our communities, we like to stay stuck together, like we're very collective, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I think when we're in a very foreign area, we need to also learn how to adapt. So I think I was able to adapt in that kind of scenario, but the main push was the numbers, and the main push was in my learnings in uni, they created solutions that were only fitted for those in the Western communities. So there were no technology solutions that were fitted for our Māori Pacific communities. So I felt like if I could pull through from this, I could at least have a seat in the table to try and make sure that there were more solutions that are more fitted for our Māori Pacific. I think what stirred me up was when I left Porirua, I kind of had to find some confidence. Well, because I remember back when I was little, I wasn't very confident back in the day. And then I think when I left Porirua, I had to have a moment where I was like, you know what, this is going to be the hardest 4 years. I have to find some kind of confidence. And like, so I think throughout that year, those years of kind of struggle, So if I have to be quite frank, my time in Auckland and studying computer science was so tough. One, I was living by myself. I've never left home like ever.
Yes.
And also I had to do my own washing, and like I don't have my dad growling at me every morning, you know, like all those. And that community feel really disappeared when I was up in Auckland alone. Because you know, we grew up as a community, but like now that I chose to leave the community to try and be better, it kind of affected me a lot. So that was a contribution. The degree altogether was very difficult. You know, and usually they say every year to increase. For me, it was every semester. It got harder and harder, and more people that I was close to keep dropping. Like, so a lot of people that I knew in computer science were just dropping out. So a lot of them that dropped out would go to a business degree. So a lot of them would go there, but the ones like, I only have a few of my friends like that are in Auckland that are still kind of like in tech, but because there's so few of us that made it through, that's kind of our kind of circle. So the struggle was real in that. So I think all of that just kind of, so I remember it very vivid when I was about to walk up, and I just felt like this whole feeling of like everything I went through is going to come to an end now, and I'm about to walk that stage. So like I was actually really nervous, but then I kind of heard my brother, I heard Swell just screaming, and then that's when I was just like, no, you paid $30,000 for this degree, you are gonna own it. Like I literally like paved my own way up here. So that's when I went up, and I just had to, it just felt like a release. So like for those that did watch it, it was not planned. I was just really, it was the joy of the Lord.
Yes,
I tell you
that.
Yeah, it was the joy, and I just could not hold it. It was my moment. I cried many years for this piece of paper. So the best I could do is just own every part of it. So yeah, and because my ceremony was very boring. So what I mean is all you hear is just like it's just the same kind of names. And I just sat there, and then when it was me, I was like, mine's gonna be a long name, so we might as well, you know, get started in 5 minutes. I'm gonna drag out my full name. So I was just like, let's go. And then I just it was a beautiful moment, I tell you that. I hopped off crying, not because I did that, but because like the season has officially ended, and now I'm about to embark on a new one. So I think my key mentors at the time when I left home were my computer science friends. Now so I'm gonna call them out. So they're all boys, because bit of a reality check. There's no girls in computer science. So one of my best friends, Daniel Fruin, so he's a Whiwhiao's boy for an AOG in Kelston. So we connected because we were from the same faith, and we had the same morals and values. So so we were in the same journey together, and I'd always do all-nighters. So I was that type where I would stay up till like 7 in the morning while I was working from like 8 or 6 at night the day before, and every time I'd cry, he would just keep pushing me. And I think it was the friendship that he installed in me, but also because we had the same faith, it kind of built me, because there were times where I was really close to giving up, and because there are times where he would just kind of speak life into me. So Daniel Fruin and my other best friend Gurman Singh. Gurman is Sikh, and we may not have the same faith, but I just love how we don't really care. Like, it doesn't stop us from being friends, or even stop us from speaking life to each other. So those two were my go-to. Every time I was about to give up, they really pushed me, and they were kind of my mentors. But my overall, like, the person I looked up to the most, and I don't know if I can say this, but I should, but I looked up to myself.
Hey,
I was like, man, and like, I don't want to sound real, because I don't want to sound stubborn or like not like selfish, but I was just thinking, man, you have, like, because I don't know anyone that did my journey. Like, I don't have anyone to relate to in my community that did computer science. So I was just cheering. I was like what's it called? Cheering for myself. I was like, get it,
Yeah.
sister. You're gonna do this. Right now it's stressful, but you. So there are moments where I sat by myself and talked to myself, but I knew I needed to pep. Yeah, I needed to pep myself up. Yeah. So my two best friends, Daniel and Gurman, and also the number one person you should also back up is yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah. So currently, currently I'm based in Auckland. So I work in the centre CBD in Auckland City. So I'm just up the top there. But because of COVID and because of the nature of my work, I don't really need to be in an office. So ever since COVID, I've been actually back at home. So I don't. I just use my computer. That's the only tool I need for my kind of job, and it's quite flexible with me because my mum and my auntie Pauline have a small business. So whenever I can, all I have to do is get my work done. But then I can also help my family out in any way. So I think that's the beauty about working in tech too, is that you don't always need to be in an office and like have to commute all the time. It's all from the comfort of your home. You just need a desk and internet and just to get yourself connected, and that's really much it. So it's a privilege, and I'm very honored to be able to have it. Also, an IT project manager is someone that looks after a team of developers. So so the project manager's job in a team of developers is that they are the forefront face of, or kind of the bridge between the client and the developer. So let's say one client wants a language app. The project manager's job is to get the requirements, but also communicate that back to the developers. So there's actually two types of different languages that are being spoken. There's the business and corporate side kind of language, but then when you come to the developers, there's kind of like a technical kind of language. So my dream is to do that because I understand the technicality about everything, but I also love to communicate with people. So that's kind of my dream. But also in my time as a developer, I've had project managers that that don't really look after us developers. So what that means is if a client keeps hassling a team that they want this and that, a really good project developer manager is someone that knows how to defend the team and to negotiate with the client so that the developers don't get burnt out. So I've had moments where me and my team have been burnt out, but I know that because I've learned these lessons and learnings, that if I become one, I know exactly what to do to also to make the client happy, but also to keep my team safe as well. So the interesting bit about it is that there has been a growth of women in technology. So there's a lot of us women, usually in kind of HR, business, accounting, and law, because tech is very broad. So we do need accountants and lawyers in tech. So and sales and all that. So there's a lot of women there. The women that I meet in development are women that are majority Balangi or kind of Asian or Indian. So that's kind of like the kind of demographic of what it's like. Communicating with them is very interesting because what's it called? They're very nice. Like they're so. First of all, when we see another woman, I'm like, oh sis, hi, like oh my gosh, sis, it's so good to see you. And they get real shocked because they're just like, oh my gosh, like not because I'm a woman, it's just because I'm just very extroverted. So so I'm just like, so good to see you. But there is moments where women are in power and there is a bit of a conflict sometimes because we sometimes give out the same kind of feeling or kind of power that was given to us when, like, for example, if there are some women that are in positions of high power that are treating everyone else the way they got treated. So like they get treated bad and then it gets replaced. So there's moments like that I've noticed a lot, but I think my learnings from that is that she's just a byproduct of from a experience before. So I think it's just we need to have girl talks or something, or just tell her to calm down or something. But I think it's still different because I'm a double minority anyway. So if women are at tick, then another minority I get covered is that there's not enough Māori and Pasifika women at tech. So I think that's, it's still great. It's still a win that there are women in tech, but for someone like me, it's still heartening because we can still connect in that way, but wouldn't it even be more richer if we had more of our own people in there? So, it's fantastic, but that's kind of a bit of a more push to bring more. Because if we bring more Māori Pasifika in tech companies, what a joy to have! What a joy to go to work! I tell you, every high school I go to, it has a very different approach. So what I'm saying is, if I go to a school that is Decile 9 to Decile 6, the approach there is not much effort because they actually understand what I'm like. For example, I'm not saying they don't understand in lower deciles. I'm saying that there's a more urgency from these kids, teenagers, to learn about them because they have already been exposed into this industry. Where if I went to a school from Decile 5 to 1, there is I have to explain exactly what the industry is, but I also have to keep in mind that there is still no interest at the time. For example, I went to a school in Auckland called, I think it was Westlake Girls, so that's in North Shore. I was speaking to them about tech and all of that, and they're engaged, they're aware, and they know exactly what it is because they have resources. Their parents are well off in the area. It's just exactly why their decile's high. But when I went to a school in Sir Edmund Hillary in Otara, it's very different because they look. When I explain it to them, it's heartening because the first thing they say to me is that, I don't have a laptop, I don't have internet access, I don't have enough power to. So there's a lot of barriers that I need that must be overcome before I do such work into school. So the first thing I did when I was at uni was that I was working with South Auckland a lot. So in South Auckland we went in there and I was giving out laptops. So there's corporate laptops that are given by Spark, the foundation, Spark Foundation. So in that time it was more like offering them the resources, but then getting into the in-depth. So it's a long journey with these communities, and the heart-wrenching thing is that it's our Māori and Pasifika communities too that is affected. So the approach is very different, but at the same time it's still the same kind of learnings. If I teach kids in high deciles about code, it will still be the same kind of information I teach for lower deciles, but the approaches will just be different. And the only reason why the approaches are different is due to barriers. But I'm very aware that kids they switch off so fast. That there is no need to come. That there is no need for me to come in and be like, I'm a software developer. Ready, let's do this. I have to get them. I have to get their hands dirty. So what I do is I come to them and I teach them how to code robots and also how to code. Just how to code in general and robots. But the differences between the different schools is for our communities, I actually teach them how to code in their respective languages. So I've been teaching kids how to code in Te Reo Māori, Niuean, Samoan and Tongan. So that, because a lot of them are very they're all bilingual, so like why not just keep using the language that they are more confident in. So it's amazing because you see them faster at coding in their language, but it also keeps the language at the same time. So so that's the kind of ways that I kind of go out to schools and stuff. But it's very different because I would rather actually what I mean is I love to teach the kids, but I love to teach the elders too. So I also do work in helping the elders as well. So I've been going to maraes like Wahipa, so that's that one in Waikato where the Māori King is. I've been going up to maraes in Auckland and also up north. and I've been doing some community works in Mangere, and also in Porido I'm doing work with the Tokelau community. So I'm teaching them how to use technology just to benefit not only their people but also their language and culture too. The hard work in the 4 years, but I think overall, like from my experience, it kind of came from how I grew up. So I was very fortunate that I grew up in a community and I was raised in a community. And I think now that I'm older, I think I've just noticed the importance of a community. So it's, the study is great. I think everyone should have time to be educated, but I think it depends on your values and stuff. So Sunday school times, White Sunday, CA, I think, a lot of us kind of like, I think we forget to really know that they weren't just church activities, they were little kind of seeds that made us who we are now. So I'm grateful. Yeah, I'm very grateful that I had that advantage in life. So with me, in my professional world, I always keep that aside. I never mix and mingle my family business and with what I advocate, because I already know it tastes too sour and it will ruin, for me personally, my mindset, because it gets involved. So I'm a very good believer, and I'm very good at practicing of just letting them comment, but not trying to put gas to the fire. Like I'm very like, you know what, if it's gonna happen and they have to say that, then they can say that. But but I know that there's always a boundary for me, where if it is crossed, then I like to take care of it in like a very sensible and a mature way. So that would be like, hey, do you want to grab a coffee? Should we have a talk or something? So that's kind of my tactic of dealing with it. I think I've noticed now that I have a reputation now, not because of what I've successfully done, but because if I want to be a leader, I need to learn to control or have control of all my feelings. So I do not comment back. I just let it be, but I know that there's also another way to confront these kind of the haters. But you know what, I'm grateful for the haters, because they do get me in places that I didn't think I'd get. So it's part of the journey, especially for those that are leaders, and I think that's everyone. But I think I'm very blessed to be able to build that wall that makes me know that regardless of what, I know that I'm doing something for the community.
Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Oh, bless. I see myself working in technology and all those career stuff, but being like a project manager. But I think I see myself more helping the community and helping them become more digitally fluent and also digitally aware. So like the stuff that I'm doing now, for example, like the Tokelau community, I'm helping them with a program to enrich their culture and also their language. I want to do more of that, but to build more onto it, so that if my work in that can build and bring out more Tokelau software developers or more Tokelau kids involved in tech, then I think that to me is a job well done. So it's more of I'm gonna still strive for my corporate career, but it's not really the icing in the cake for me. I think for me it's to make sure that if I want more of our Māori Pasifika in corporate or in tech, then I need to go back to the actual roots, and that's the community. So so that's what I see myself doing, is to build a bridge so that other women and also Māori Pasifika can walk on, so that they can go through things that what's it called? Well, actually, they don't get to face the things that I faced, because I know that I was able to build that bridge for them. So I think more community focused, and also just being the best person I could ever be. So yeah, that's where I see myself in a few years.
It says parents are pastors out in Porirua as well. What's the ministry called, sis? What's the church called?
Harvest Ministry.
That's awesome. So if you are ever visiting Porirua, drop a comment down to Ete, or if you want to know more about software development. That's what Pasifika Woman is all about. We're all about helping, connecting, creating a safe space for our Pasifika women to connect and to get more into these industries and to be a woman of influence. So thank you so much for joining us today, Ete. Love to have you again on the show someday, some years further down the track. And all the best for your future endeavors. God's got big doors for you, big doors.